Are you ready for pain? Are you ready for suffering? If the answer is yes, then you're ready.
Here we go. Happy Friday. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. Ain't no reason, don't be unsure.
You are out to lunch. If you think it's acceptable to not show up because you think if there's some pride activities going on at school, right? Oh, that's fine. You know, because I'm going to show my opinion by hanging out at the mall. But meanwhile, all of those kids who are, you know, involved in, say, the Gay Street Alliance or whatever, I don't even know if we have that anymore in our school, they're here when we did Ramadan for Lion Time, and they're showing respect in the class for your religion, right, for your beliefs. It goes two ways. If you want to be respected for who you are, if you don't want to suffer prejudice for your religion, your color of skin, your whatever, then you better give it back to people who are different from you. That's how it works. It's an exchange. And it isn't like that in all countries. As I told you, in Uganda, literally, if they think you're gay, they will execute you. If you believe that kind of thing, then you don't belong here. Because that is not what Canada believes. We believe in freedom. We believe that people can marry whomever they want. That is in the law. And if you don't think that should be the law, you can't be Canadian. You don't belong here, and I mean it. I really mean it. And it's not a joke, Mansour.
Being saved. Michael went on to do great things. He taught twerking in schools. He started a new fitness phenomenon called Twerk to 20. No one's sure if it works or not, but they're giving money for it anyway. And he became the first Olympic athlete to win a gold medal for twerking. Michael was a national hero. All because he followed his heart. All because he was true to himself.
This is at my kid's school. What do we got here?
The LGBTQ singers.
Who do we have? Miley, Demi Lovato, David Bowie,
Elton John,
Freddie Mercury,
Tegan and Sarah.
Which one's my favorite?
Ricky Martin.
Yeah, you know it. This is done with the Pride Committee at our school, 4th and 5th graders. Amazing.
Folks, my name is Miranda. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a licensed professional counselor and sex therapist in Erie, Pennsylvania. And today I want to talk about minor attracted persons. And I want to talk about minor attracted persons because they are probably the most vilified population of folks in our culture. And most folks are making incorrect assumptions about them without actually knowing much about them. And those assumptions create harm for an already marginalized population. You may have noticed that I'm using the term minor attracted persons, sometimes abbreviated to MAPS, instead of the more commonly used term pedophile. And I'm doing this because the term pedophile has moved from being a diagnostic label to being a judgmental, hurtful insult that we hurl at people in order to harm them or slander them. I also prefer person-first language that recognizes that any label we might apply to a person is only part of who they are and doesn't represent everything that they are. We are all people first with many different facets or parts of ourselves, and this includes folks who are attracted to minors. So to start with, let's talk about what a minor attracted person is, or who they are. This term simply means that the person has an enduring sexual or romantic attraction to minors. They've not chosen this attraction, just as the rest of us have not chosen whatever our attraction is. You don't get to choose to be heterosexual or to be gay or whatever you are, and you don't get to choose to be a minor attracted person. Some minor attracted persons are attracted to a specific age range of minors, while some are not. And some minor attracted persons are exclusively attracted to minors and are not attracted to adults at all. Some minor attracted persons are also attracted to adults.
It's hard to be a hater when there's so much love in the world.
Yeah, retweet to that. Wow.
Everyone around the world should celebrate Pride. Pride means that you're special
Yeah.
and loving
Yeah.
and kindness.
Yeah, pride does mean all those things. So what is pride?
About people who are queer, and queer is two people of the same gender who have crushes on each other.
Do you think kids should be at pride?
Yeah. Usually they mostly experience, like, in stories, straight stuff. So it's good for kids to also know about queer stuff. I am non-binary.
Yeah?
I have the perfect cape for it.
Your flag? Yes.
It is fantabulous. I don't care if anyone says no if this is not fantabulous, because it is fantabulous.
A few months ago, I walked into my classroom before school like I always do, but this time there was a cop there waiting for me. He was there because a serious threat had been made against my life and the lives of my students. Someone, in an anonymous email, had made it very clear that they were both willing and able to hurt me while I was teaching. It's something I still don't quite know how to talk about, but I think that we have to. These threats happen because of books. More specifically, these threats happen because of a fear of books. It's a fear that we've all seen growing, and it's manifesting in unthinkably ugly ways. It's meant to ignite the worst parts of us, in the same way that many queer teachers are getting used to hearing ourselves called groomers. But we can't let it distract from what we believe. And what I believe is this: that every student has the right to read and to see themselves represented and celebrated in literature. And that banning books, clearing out libraries, and threatening to hurt teachers does not make fewer queer kids. It scares the ones that we have into silence. So now, it's Read Across America season, and it was founded by the National Education Association in 1998 because they understood then what's still true now. Reading books that challenge us to understand ourselves and each other can only serve to close the kind of gap that inspires someone to hate so hard they only see room for violence. You can text BAND to 48744 for a recommendation for a banned book of your very own, and we can keep asking the same question Ray Bradbury asked in his classic banned book. Do you read any of the books that you burn?
Please forgive me, your grace. Can't even look me in the face.
So one of my biggest fat representation in media pet peeves is when fat phobia shows up in a place, time period, or community where it may not actually belong. Bridgerton is a great example of this, a time period where fat was considered beautiful, yet you have a whole storyline about a fat character not being considered beautiful. And then in fantasy series like Dune, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, fat phobia persists even though we can totally believe in fictional creatures and made-up worlds. There was even a fat phobic joke inserted into the new West Side Story movie that was not in the original, and it's a joke about, oh, we don't want to move our kids to America because they'll get fat if they're in America, when this is a Puerto Rican community where, number one, thinness may not have been considered the most beautiful thing in that community, but also at the time, America wasn't even the obesity epidemic place that we think of it as today. This is so unnecessary, and it's punching down. That joke is just there to get cheap laughs because fat people are easy targets.
Showing up to teach 4th grade the day after the Don't Say Gay bill passes through the Florida House.
Let's talk trans minors accessing gender-affirming surgery. Cis conservatives have worked themselves up into a frenzy over this assumption that trans minors are accessing all these gender-affirming surgeries, which, as we've established, is not happening because you need to be 18 years or older, and in some very rare cases 16 with parental consent and a whole other slew of hoops you have to jump through. But as we know, facts don't matter to conservative Republicans. No. All that matters to them is whatever narrative is circulating around in their echo chamber that day. And lately, I've seen so many comments from cis Republicans saying that now trans minors don't even need parental consent to get these surgeries. Let's break this down, shall we? The cost of surgically transitioning out of pocket is just ridiculously expensive. Bottom surgery, around $30,000. Top surgery, around $20,000. Face, around $40,000. I don't know any minors who are walking around with that much money in their piggy bank. That's a lot of babysitting. Now let's say you use insurance companies covering it as an argument. I don't know any minors who are going around town getting 2 separate therapy letters to get insurance to cover it. I don't know any minors who are going and doing pre-op blood work by themselves, who are going and filling prescriptions by themselves for painkillers and antibiotics for after the surgery. You need to think these things through. It doesn't make sense. You guys make things up and you believe it as if it's facts, and it's not facts. Children are not getting gender-affirming surgeries, especially without parental consent. Use your brains. They're there for a reason.
Happy Pride Month. Now is the perfect time to show everyone that you cannot take away queer and trans joy. But while you're out celebrating, remember that we keep us safe. Do not engage with any hateful protesters and stick together. This Pride Month, let's focus on uplifting marginalized queer voices, including queer and trans, Black and Indigenous people of color, queer people with disabilities, trans and non-binary people, and queer, undocumented people and immigrants. You are loved, stay safe.
Hey there, welcome to Queer Kid Stuff. I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Teddy.
Today we're learning how to make our very own flags with Drag Queen Story Hour.
Yay!
Queer Kid Stuff. You are enough here at Queer Kid Stuff. You ready, Teddy?
Ready, Lindsay.
Okay, let's bring in the queens. Hello!
Hi! I'm Harmonica.
And I'm Reverend Yolanda, and we're here to teach you how to make pride flags.
Oh, awesome. Before we get started, Teddy has a few questions for you.
What are your pronouns and how do you identify?
My pronouns are she and her, and I identify as Harmonica.
Yes, and I'm also she and her, and I identify as trans femme genderqueer.
Awesome. All right, let's learn how to make our pride flags.
Now, great. Before we start making the flags, Yolanda and I brought some examples just so you can see how it's done, and in the end, you'll have your own pride flag.
And I identify as trans, so I made a trans pride flag. It's just a little bit different than the rainbow flag.
There are lots of different pride flags, Teddy. There's a bi-pride flag, and an intersex pride flag, and pansexual pride flag, non-binary pride flag.
Is there a bear pride flag?
Well, technically yes, but let's stick with the rainbow flag today, Teddy.
Now, let's gather our supplies. First, you'll need colored construction paper and scissors.
And make sure you have a grown-up help you with the scissors.
Mm-hmm. And we'll probably need glue and some sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Beautiful. So for step 2, you want to pick the colors that you want for your flag and cut them into very thick strips, sort of like this.
Lindsay, can you help me with the scissors? I don't have thumbs.
Of course, Teddy.
Now line the colors up in the order that you want them and get your glue stick out.
So now we're going to line up all the pieces of the flag together. So take your glue stick and carefully put glue on one half of your strip, like that. And then take the next strip in line and stick it on top of the gluey part of the first strip. There you go. Now the 2 strips are stuck together.
And keep doing that until all your strips are glued together like this.
Oh, like the one you have?
Oh, beautiful. Well, now you need to take out your sticks and glue the sticks to the colors of the construction paper.
Okay. And all you have to do is glue the stick to the flag and you're done. Let the glue dry for a few minutes and you're done.
Yeah.
I made my very own pride flag.
Yay!
Thank you so much for teaching us how to make our very own pride flags.
Of
You're
course.
welcome.
You're so welcome.
Awesome. The instructions for this craft are on our Instagram at Queer Kid Stuff. We're spreading queer joy this month, so I wanted to thank Harmonica and Yolanda for helping us spread queer joy with Drag Queen Story Hour. And if you like my shirt, you can get it down below just by clicking the link. And that's it for us today.
We'll see you next time at Queer Kid Stuff.
Bye.
Before ED came out to us and we as a family went on this journey together, we had no experience or understanding of what it meant to be trans.
I still can't help but imagine
my 2 daughters being married and my
course
2
you
sons
do.
marrying. Either of my children became gay, I'd be like, okay with that, that's fine, no problem. But if them change their gender identity, I would be paused for a moment and I would have to evolve.
It wasn't easy to change my entire perception of gender. I was in my 40s and I'd lived a life with a set of ideas and my own ignorance of what trans people's lives are actually like. Katie doesn't want to be trans. She just wants to be a girl. As things progressed over the years, we decided to seek out professional help in the form of a gender clinic. There's so much noise in the media about trans children and the danger surrounding them. We were more than a little concerned. And then we got the news. We were doing exactly what Edie needed. We were supporting her and loving her, and other than that, there was nothing else to do. Now in a few years, we will be in a different position and some difficult choices will need to be made. That's a long way off. I hope this helped.
What if you regret it? A lot of people said that to me right before I got top surgery. Do you know how long the process is to actually get that surgery? Years of dysphoria, a ton of therapy, insurance paperwork, so much waiting. It's the hardest thing you'll ever try to do. Trans healthcare in the United States is not that easy of a process. I have not regretted a single moment of having top surgery. Every single day I look in the mirror and I feel my nips that are still sore. I'm like, yeah. I feel like we need to support trans kids more than ever. This country has all these laws and bills that are trying to tell them they're wrong for existing. Trans kids are no different than any other kid. They're super precious, given their unique experience in this world, need to be supported and given the kind of affirmation and access that will help them thrive. You are loved. You're worthy of all the respect in the world. And to celebrate, if you have lumps right there, you're not supposed to show them. Everyone should be able to show them. This makes me so happy.
Here's why we need more queer representation in media, not just for the queer people, but for straight people too. You know how when you talk to a straight person about like the LGBTQIA plus community and they get really like nervous and they're worried about saying the wrong thing and they don't want to offend you? Yeah, that's gonna stop them also understanding our community and being able to support our community too. People fear what they don't know. The more mainstream it becomes to have queer representation in TV shows, movies, whatever it might be, not only are we going to feel more represented and know that it's more, normal to identify and be what we want to be that represents our truth, but straight people are going to be more than accepting of us because they're being given the opportunity to be educated without the labor being put on us all the time.
Hi, Benji here. This commenter has challenged me to provide some concrete examples of POC being misrepresented by white people in media, and luckily, I have time today. Jake Gyllenhaal playing someone of Iranian descent in 2010's Prince of Persia. Cleopatra being played by an array of white women in various films. The white principal cast of 2014's biblical epic Exodus Gods and Kings, set in the Middle East. For many people, the stereotypical character of Apu in The Simpsons was their first experience of Indian culture on TV, a character who was voiced and written by a white person. There's also the very prevalent black best friend trope, which sees black narratives be literally sidelined in order to center white ones. Put simply, people of color have their experiences misrepresented all the time. It's rife and it's very harmful. Hope that helps. Bye.
I'm gonna talk about why gay and LGBT media is important. I grew up in a rural, conservative part of North America, a place where hockey and football reign supreme. I did not know what a gay person was until I was probably 13 or 14, and I'm not joking. The only kind of representation I got was in shows like Friends, where they have a gay character or they make a joke about being gay. It's not until very recently, with things like Heartstoppers and New Royals and Elite and shows like that, that show positive gay relationships and LGBT relationships actually exist. That kind of media is so incredibly helpful, and it would have been incredibly helpful to me at like 11 or 12. I don't need to see relationships in the, explicit part of it, but seeing cute relationships or like high school sweethearts would have been super helpful.
They keep talking about it on Fox News. White people seem terrified of it. They want it out of schools, but critical race theory is nothing new. Where did it come from and why is it such a threat? As of June 2021, 22 states were planning to ban critical race theory from grade school education, with 5 already signed into law. What is critical race theory and why do white people have such a problem with it? Critical race theory has become an umbrella term for Black studies. It's a word for making sense of and critiquing white supremacy and finding pathways to defeat it and achieve Black freedom. White people have been trying to stop CRT for a long time. This goes as far back as Franz Fanon in the mid-20th century. Considered the grandfather of critical race theory, Fanon's book, Black Skin, White Mask, created the vocabulary for Black people to talk about living under white supremacy. Despite its powerful relevance to this day, Fanon's University rejected his work, a clear sign that Black critical thought has always caused white anxiety. More recently, Black people have had to fight for critical race theory to be legitimized in colleges. Before they became the founders of the Black Panthers, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale met by protesting their college to include Black studies as part of the curriculum. At its core, critical race theory is an essential framework that challenges white supremacy by critiquing it on all levels. We have to both learn from this knowledge and defend it as well. Be sure to like this video and follow We Are Push Black for more Black history content.
Black representation in the media, let's talk about it. And this is the Black Month History series, let's get into it. As we know, the media plays a big role in stereotypes and how they're created. And when it comes to the media, we constantly see Black people portrayed wrong, inaccurately. Like for example, in shows, typically the Black person's like ghetto, ratchet person. Or even in the news, whenever you hear a story about a Black person experiencing police brutality, the media will be so quick to put their criminal past instead of their story of experiencing police brutality. And the reason why it's so important to talk about this is because the narrative that it pushes the stereotype that Black people are ghetto, thugs, criminals, when those are stereotypes. Not to mention, it creates even a bigger issue because those stereotypes that are portrayed in media causes harm towards Black people. Big example, police brutality, which is what cost the lives of so many members of the Black community. Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Amir Locke, Patrick Aloya, I could be going on forever. But some people will still ignore the issue of this. The media is ultimately the biggest impact on society and ultimately shapes society. So seeing these in the media, we really need to talk about it more. Even if Black Lives Matter isn't a trend anymore. Because in 2020, so many people were posting black screens in support of Black Lives Matter. But since the Black community is no longer benefiting them, they stay silent and be performative. Which is why I need to speak up. It doesn't matter if you have 1 follower or 1 million. Spreading awareness is always a start. Because change comes from a collective. And enough is enough. Everyone can spread this message. And if you made this part of the video, comment the word sunlight in the comment section. And I know I say it in every video, but I truly appreciate all the support. I hope you guys have a good day. Peace.
I think my favorite part of being fat is that we're like durable as fuck. Like I heard this story once about this fat guy who got hit by a car and he like flew across the street and he like didn't even break a bone. That's amazing.
On this app, my video went viral and I know we all know why. It's because
I don't even know where to start on this. I'm so angry for this girl. She's gorgeous. I mean, she is beautiful. Her husband's beautiful. They clearly love each other. What does it matter whether she's fat and he's fit? Who cares? When I first met my husband, he was very, 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 very skinny. And I was very, 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 very fat. By these standards, we shouldn't have gone together, but we did. 18 years later, we're still together. Why is it that whenever we look at a couple and we see somebody who, by these beauty standards, are so much more attractive than what the other person is, that we think these things don't add up? Go and watch your video. I was looking through the comments. I don't even want to go and actually read the original or watch the original video to see the comments on it, because why do we do this? Why do we tear women down? Why do we make them feel that they are less worthy if they are overweight? Why? Why is this a thing? What does it matter whether somebody has fat on them? It doesn't make them any less of a person. It doesn't make her husband love her any less. Like there's comments on it saying, oh, he must be gay, or she must have loads of money, or maybe she wasn't fat when they met, or maybe he was fat when they met, but he just lost weight, she hasn't yet, or, you know, what does it matter? What does it matter? They love each other, they're married, they are committed to each other. Who cares how or why? Who cares that your brain can't fathom it? You're the one that has the broken brain there, not everybody else. It's time to change these so-called beauty standards and realize that people are people. We have feelings. Just because someone is overweight doesn't mean they don't have feelings. Anyway, I'm going to stop ranting.
Hi, I'm happy to talk about this. Hi, my name is Lauren. I have my MPH in nutrition and I like to talk about dismantling diet culture. I made a video yesterday talking about how diet culture is racist and fatphobic, and this was a really nice comment, so I wanted to actually explain it. So here are 3 ways that diet culture is racist. Number 1, diet culture prescribes the idea that one body type is ideal. Where did that come from? Usually that body type is going to be something that was created along the lines of BMI or along the lines of what people in modern day main culture view as attractive. BMI, as we know, and I have a million videos on this, maybe I'll try to link them, was created by a white man in Europe a very, very long time ago and has no actual bearings from modern day society, and he based everything off of ideal features for Belgium at that time. Also, you cannot attribute health to a size. Everyone's body is different, therefore everyone's body will look differently, weigh something different, and that doesn't mean that they aren't healthy. It just means that that's their body and that's what it looks like. Also, the whole idea that you have to prescribe to healthiness is really hard, especially for people who deal with chronic illnesses. It's very frustrating. Anyway, I digress and continue to step number 2. This has to do with the idea that blackness is attributed to fatness and whiteness is attributed to thinness in a historical context. So what this means is that when the United States is coming together, especially, and I'm only talking about the United States, I live here, although it's everywhere in the world, is that people really did not want to be attributed to being black in any way. They did not want to be anywhere close to that. And at the time, people only attributed fatness to being a black trait because they attributed it to not having control over yourself, being a savage, not being able to control how much food you ate. So, to avoid that and avoid being associated with it, diets were created. It was this whole idea that being thin was like being closer to God, being able to control oneself, not being like the savages, over there who are black and can't control themselves and have different body types from us. And this is not to say that all black people look the same, because they don't, but this was the thought process of people in pre-slavery, during slavery, and post-slavery, and still now. It's all about that fear of being attributed to being somewhat closer to blackness. And that's the whole thing, is that people don't want to be near blackness because people understand how black people are treated. I could go deeper into that, but I only have a few seconds left, so I want to go to the third point, which is the demonization of cultural foods, which is the biggest part of why diet culture is super racist. This is the whole idea that cultural foods are somehow incredibly unhealthy and everything else is okay. For example, white rice, or the idea that like eating black eyed peas, fried chicken, all this stuff will kill you. Why are people of color, and for myself, black people, always demonized for things that we enjoy eating? It's because they want to take away joy. Anyway, 4 seconds left. Drink some water. Have a great day. Bye.
One of the most common responses to the fight for reparations is like, oh, why shouldn't we pay like every historical group that we've ever wronged? I think this question actually misses the stated purpose of reparations. A lot of people mistakenly think that reparations is supposed to be like an apology, which stems from a very Western idea of crime and punishment, which is like, oh, I did something wrong. Here, now I'm gonna pay for it. That's not what reparations is. Reparations is a form of restorative justice. It's not so much focused on the past as it is the future. Because right now, race relations in America is fixated on a sticking point, which is that black people have been getting robbed. And you don't have to go back as far as sharecropping or slavery. Your parents' generation probably dealt with things like redlining, eminent domain, and urban renewal. These are processes that have consistently and systemically removed wealth from the black community and taken it elsewhere. Like Malcolm X said, progress is not just removing the knife out of your back, it's healing the wound. Notice that he also didn't say that progress was litigating the person that stabbed you. That's not really what we're about here. But the best the black community has ever gotten from America is promises that they won't do that specific form of oppression anymore. That's not progress. As someone who would never in a million years qualify for reparations, when you analyze black American history, it is a history of getting robbed, and they're still getting robbed. And the thing is, the consequences of that robbery don't just fall onto the black community. We all suffer because of this open wound that exists in our country. Until the United States can take accountability for the stolen wealth that it has built its empire upon, we can never fully progress. Reparations looks different in all cases, and we still don't know what it's going to look like for African Americans. But what we do know is that they're a necessary first step if this country ever wants to progress past this racial fixed point. If not, we're constantly going to be coming back to systemic racism and ultimately to slavery. Why are African Americans poor? Why are they less likely to own homes? Why do they go to jail more often? Why are they more likely to be the targets of environmental and medical racism? Because they keep getting robbed.
Y'all are making me laugh today. This is a funny comment. You so insincere talking about good luck. I'm laughing, and I have to speak to this point. I think you're a black person, so this is why I'm responding, because I want to talk to us now about this. It's really important for us to understand that white people already are white supremacists. They benefit from white supremacy, they perpetuate white supremacy, and they participate in it. They might not participate to the level of white nationalism or Nazism or being fascist or ultra-right conservatives. However, on the very basis that they are not doing the active work to dismantle, interrupt, disrupt, and abolish white supremacy, they're white supremacists. So remember Harriet Tubman left slavery, believed in her freedom more than the laws that said she wasn't a whole person? Okay. Came back into fucking hell and rescued people out of it. And as she's doing her abolition work and getting people out of slavery, she's also talking with white abolitionists, many of whom were funding the work, not necessarily freeing slaves by hand or on foot. But they were funding the work and providing resources to make sure the Underground Railroad worked. Well, a lot of these abolitionists, when Harriet was like, okay, now that black people are out of slavery and in free states, we need rights, like to be treated like humans still. Many of these white abolitionists were like, whoa, mama, chill. You're asking for a lot. Can't you just be happy that you're not a slave? Now, if we're in that context, saying things like becoming a white supremacist, that would make slavery the most white supremacist action. But you don't think that shit of telling Harriet Tubman to slow her roll, that she's doing too much, as a white person with money, funding the Underground Railroad is not also white supremacy? Let's put it in today's terms. It may be very easy to see the white cop with his badge and his bulletproof vest kneeling on a black man in the hood until he's dead as a white supremacist. That may make a lot of sense. It might be a lot harder to see that teacher that constantly ignores her black kids in the classroom as a white supremacist, because she's not physically harming anybody or toting a gun, but she is actively participating in and perpetuating the cycles of poverty and disenfranchisement that keep our people suffering. Now think of all the systems that white people have power in, because this is what white supremacy is. White power that perpetuate death, suffering, harm, and incarceration for black people. That's almost every area of life. Regular ass people doing that shit every day.
Literally all racism is projection of white insecurities. I have examples. One stereotype is laziness. Some white people say that Latinos or black people are lazy, which is wild because a lot of white people, we get our opportunities through nepotism or through having white skin, literally having more job opportunities or having generational wealth, simply because we're white and not necessarily because of our work ethic. Unfortunately, a lot of people of color have to work a lot harder in order to have opportunities for themselves because they're not handed to them. Another stereotype is the angry black woman. I feel like the only people that I've seen really angry in public are white women and white men. Think about like people that call the police on black people just for existing. Karenism is literally just angry white women, and people don't say angry, but it's true. There's a stereotype that a lot of Asian people are really smart, and it's not that white people necessarily are all dumb, but it is like a weird thing, you know, to be insecure about and project onto someone like, oh, like you're smart because you're Asian. It's like, I don't know.
It's giving insecure. One thing that I hear from white men is that they will not be with a white woman who has been with a black man. I feel like that one really speaks for itself. Okay, another one is telling black people to cut their hair or have their hair be short. Okay. We as white people do not have as many hairstyles. Literally. Like, white men can only really have the short hair, the mullet, like the mohawk. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of insecure to be like, no, you guys can't have like all those diversity of hairstyles. You have to keep it like us. Like,
CRT wants to abolish white people. What? What about whiteness? This thing in me that I have discovered over the last 2 years, this being white, this normal dominance that I have in society, this normal control that I have over everything, this normal ability to be superior, should that go away? Should I be able to share America more equally and let Black America lead too? That's evil? Maybe not.
I want to talk the internalized male gaze. That's right. Women everywhere have a male view now inside of their head, viewing themselves through said lens. It's like internalized patriarchy, voyeurism. It totally makes sense because women have been raised to value this gaze. I think a lot of people have experienced it. I feel it myself, and I almost see it sometimes in a beneficial way for my own self, even when I'm by myself, if that makes sense. What I'm trying to say is that I think the awareness of this internalized gaze is important. I don't think we should be judgmental of it, even though it is something that was built from a patriarch system. And I think it's totally something that if people want to change, they can with time and awareness. And I think a lot of people are already doing this by rejecting this gaze. But I'm curious what you think about it, or if you've ever felt it.
Y'all, I think I might have taken this a little too far. I work in a nursing home, and when I started working there this summer, I had my wig. Then I switched it to the locks. 40 inches, you know, I had the locks flowing, they was going past my butt, loved it. Every time I would go past somebody, they'd be like, oh my God, your hair, let me see your hair. But like, they would go crazy, but people would go crazy. Like, this lady literally took a picture of it and sent it to her granddaughter because her granddaughter's mixed, and she was like, oh, she's gonna love it, she's gonna love it. Oh my God. So I put the wig back because it's time to wrap it up. The locks is done. And these people are invested. Like, they literally, I walked into work and everyone's like, you cut your hair, you dyed your hair, why did you do that? You've been growing it for 20 years, why would you do that? Oh my God. Like, half of these people have dementia. I didn't think it would make that big of a difference. I started with this shit first. I had this first. But I did go in though. I told them that I've been growing it my whole life. But some of the shit that I said was real. Like, every Sunday mom would do my hair for me after dinner time for school the next week or whatever. Which is true. And we did spend hours washing my hair and doing my hair. But I exaggerated and added shit because why are you in my business? Why are you sending pictures to your granddaughter of my hair? Because she got some black and I'm black, she gonna love my hair. No. I had to have a whole talk today about how I wanted something different, needed a change, because people are so concerned about me changing my hair. It's funny, but it's not funny when you have no one at work that gets it. At that point, it's kind of annoying.
I want to clarify this for a second here. I'm not saying that kink isn't kid-friendly. I'm saying that kids and kink can coexist at Pride in a totally fine way. There's a nuance here. That making an event kid-friendly doesn't mean sanitizing it, aka taking something like kink out of Pride. Making Pride kid-friendly is not the same thing as sanitizing Pride. Making a Pride event kid-friendly, or I prefer kid-safe,
is about making sure we're including and putting kid and youth voices and including them in Pride and particularly any justice spaces. Kids and youth voices are vital to justice movements because they are a vulnerable and marginalized group on their own, which includes their intersecting identities and oppressions. So I'm not saying that kink isn't appropriate for kids. I'm saying they can and should coexist with each other. Hiya! If you're an educator and want to bring gender and queer affirming practices into your classroom, stick around. I'm Linz. I'm a queer and trans non-binary author and kids creator, well known for my web series Queer Kid Stuff. And I have a brand new book that just came out called Rainbow Parenting, Your Guide to Raising Queer Kids and Their Allies. And even though it's a parenting book, it's really for anyone with relationships with young people, and educators are a huge, huge part of kids' lives. So I wrote a little note to educators in the beginning of the book, and I thought I would read it to you. All right, for educators. You are the vanguard of this work. Most kids spend more time in classrooms than they do at home, but you already know that. You know the power you have over small minds, and you understand the responsibility that comes with it, or at least I hope you do. If you've been nervous about bringing LGBTQ+ and social justice work into your classroom, no matter your subject or personal identity, I hope this book gives you courage. When you're writing lesson plans and coming up with activities, you might remember this book and remind yourself to include a blank space for pronouns next to name on a handout or worksheet or test. When a boy in your class starts wearing a dress to school, you might use the tools in this book to affirm his choice and have frank and open conversations about gender with your class. And when a narrow-minded school administrator or disgruntled parent asks you about your teaching methods, you can hand them this book so you don't have to do the work and expend the emotional labor yourself. I hope this book teaches you something, but I also hope this book teaches you something, but I also hope it inspires you, because you inspire me. It's the least I can do for all that you do. Your homework assignment is to keep going. That's my little note to educators who are reading Rainbow Parenting, Your Guide to Raising Queer Kids and Their Allies. It's a book for anyone with littles in their lives. All right, that's it. Thanks, friends. Bye.
Drag queens twerking for kids is evil. Here's the truth. Involving kids into anything, whether
You say that you've been to drag shows, but your words tell me you obviously don't know how this shit fucking works. Just because you've been to 2 drag shows doesn't mean you know shit. All age shows are a thing so that children can have appropriate performances to indulge in. Then there are non-all age appropriate shows. And if a child ends up at one of those, that's on the fucking parents, not the drag queen. I've literally seen drag queens change their entire fucking set for the night 20 minutes before they're supposed to be on stage because they found out there was a child in the audience. A child. But yet, you want to talk about drag queens twerking. What about all the twerking on TV? Rihanna was shaking her ass in the Super Bowl halftime. What about that? You gonna talk about that? Of course not, because Rihanna is not a queer person. Your children are safer at a drag show than they are in your fucking churches. And that's statistically proven. So why don't you fucking talk about that instead?
One little girl bang.
Girl, I know you felt like such a baddie recording this. I don't know the words. Also, what is up with cis people and not liking the word cis? Would you rather us call you trans? I mean, quite literally, that's just the word for it. If you do not identify as transgender, you are cisgender. Trans community didn't make these words to conspire against you. It's just the literal definition. Also, I've literally never heard the word chest feeder before I seen this video. Nobody calls cis women chest feeders and birthing person. Seriously, you must have seen one article saying this. Because if you talk to any trans person, it's cis. It's cisgender, that's just what it's called. Also, you act like you're the only one being called it. Cis males are being called cis too. If you don't like it, go rewrite the dictionary, I guess. I don't know. Also, it's funny how you tried to act supportive by saying claim yourself as what you want, but in the same sentence you call trans women men. Okay, I get it, you're trying to save yourself from backlash, but you're not doing a very good job.
Find the term cisgender to be disrespectful to who I actually am.
So being called cisgendered is not disrespectful or offensive. Cisgender literally just means that you're not trans. Cisgendered people identify with the gender that they were assigned at birth. Trans people do not. Really easy, 2 sides of the same coin. Now, where the transphobia comes in is that you say that you would rather be called a natural woman or a normal woman. And that implies that trans people are not natural or normal, and that is inherently transphobic. So to say that is disrespectful to trans people. I really hope this clears that up.
Hi there, my name is Jessie, and I'm non-binary transmasculine on testosterone. I'm going to be making some more videos because I feel like there are a lot of people out there that are horrendously uneducated. I just left the state of Florida visiting some family and friends. Wonderful people. That state is scary. Luckily, we were in Orlando. I feel like they're pretty hip and poppin'. Disneyland loves the gays and the trans. DeSantis is a dumb fuck obsessed with genitals. But the whole quick point of this video, I will get more political in other videos and statistics and everything. The whole point is I'm a transhuman. How scary. You're scared of this? Is it my gingery hair? Is it my open earlobes that look like kitty buttholes? Perhaps this lip ring is scaring you. Is it the tattoo? You want to see my other tattoo? That's horrifying. I understand the concept of parents. I'm a parent myself. Oh my God, magic. How did that happen? Anyways, I understand as a parent why you'd be horrified of a pedophile entering the bathroom. Pedophile. Did you hear that? Not transhuman, pedophile. A pedophile is a pedophile is a pedophile is a pedophile. So when people are making such ass backwards comments of, oh, I'm so scared for our children in the bathroom because they're going to be seeing all these penises. Where? Have you seen a fully trans human? Half the time you would never even know they are so damn beautiful and gorgeous. They've been practicing their makeup for years, dressing femininely in their own comfortable levels of whatever they damn well choose because freedom, right? America. Ha! Joke. Anyways, let's pretend a rapist wanted to dress up as a woman and go into a woman's bathroom just to play diddlywinks with your children. They have not practiced makeup. They have not practiced dressing like a woman. They would look like Rob Schneider in that movie, what was it? Where he switches place with a female and he looks hideous. He does not know how to do his makeup. It would look like a fucking clown entering the bathroom. They would never be able to do their makeup. They wouldn't know what they were doing because they're rapists, they're pedophiles, they're sick motherfuckers. If they're going to rape, they're going to go out and rape. No bathroom genital checking service is going to do shit. Calm your tits.
I'm up to no good. For real.
My name is Griffin Maxwell Brooks. I go by they, them pronouns, and I am a trans, non-binary person on the Princeton University swimming and diving team. I'll start by saying this. Transgender women are women and transgender men are men, and both should be permitted to compete as athletes against those of the same gender identity. Recently, some controversy has risen in the Ivy League over whether or not Leah Thomas, a transgender woman on the UPenn swim team, should be allowed to compete. She has abided by the NCAA and Olympic protocol, which require that she be on hormone replacement therapy for at least a year, she's done 2 years, and that her testosterone be beneath a certain level. The reality is that her genetic advantage is no more a source of unfairness than the genetic advantage that we see from person to person within the same gender. Many of you probably know that Michael Phelps has an abnormally large wingspan and produces lactic acid, the chemical that makes your muscles sore, at half the rate of his competitors, genetic advantages which he has over others. The reality is that the opposition to transgender women competing in sports only exists because they are winning, not because people are pushing for equity. Nobody has made any similar statements on how we can accommodate for the genetic advantage when it comes to transgender men in athletics, because transphobic people do not care about equity. They only care about preventing transgender people, women in this case, from winning over cisgender people. It is a recurring tactic among cisgender women to leverage misogyny as an avenue to perpetrate transphobia. By setting themselves apart from transgender women via the same argument of genetic advantage, they justify transphobia by insinuating that trans women are invading their spaces, their bathrooms, and now their sports. We call these women TERFs. Leah Thomas should be allowed to swim as a woman against women because she is a woman. I implore you to do your own research on the science and biology involved in this situation, which back up my points, rather than listening to uneducated figureheads like Caitlyn Jenner who act only in their own political self-interest. And if your argument is that I, Griffin, am not a woman and therefore cannot speak on this issue, I'll leave you with this. Leah Thomas is a woman, and she's telling you how she feels, and you're fighting against her. Have a great night. Don't be a turf.
And to use a bathroom that is made for women.
Let's discuss why trans women should be able to use the women's bathroom, and how it does not affect your validity as someone who was born a female. Firstly, would you want your daughter to go and use a male bathroom? Probably not, because you would feel it could be unsafe, or they might see something that would make them uncomfortable. And it's not any different for trans women. Trans women are arguably more unsafe in the men's bathroom than the average woman. Trans women and trans people as a general are 4 times more likely to be the victim of violent crime than cisgendered people. And especially here in the UK, there are a lot of homophobic and transphobic people out there. When trans women use the bathroom that they're most comfortable with, it's not to peep on you or to assault you, it's literally so they're safe as well. And the fact that you see somebody else looking out for their safety as a slight against your personal gender identity is a bit sad. Unfortunately, the person in this video has shown themselves to be quite transphobic, but hopefully this is educational.
Day 239 of being a girl, and we hit 9 milli for Dilly! 9 milli for Dilly!
9 milli for Dilly.
I am so grateful for every single one of you. But I need to make sure that y'all are extending the support you give to me to other trans people too. It does not just stop here. It needs to go everywhere. And you know what my page has been missing? Other trans people. Because early on in my transition, I got a little intimidated to make trans friends. But now I know that that is what's lacking in my life. So today I am going to a trans visibility march and I get to be connected with my community. So let's go!
I believe in your power.
I believe in your power.
I believe in our power. I said if we don't get no justice.
If we don't get no justice.
Then you don't get no peace.
Then you don't get no peace. Blossom, what makes you feel the most visible?
My community. My community showed up for me today. I pulled this off in the 11th hour. LA showed up for me. The trans community showed up for me. Trans non-binary community. We're all in this together, y'all. We shouldn't be fighting each other. Let's stand for unity.
Jocelyn, what makes you feel the most visible?
You know, my love and support for my trans peers.
Amen. Tessa, what makes you feel the most visible?
My family.
Amen.
My community.
Yes.
The love from the community, that's all.
Nicole, what makes you feel the most visible?
Being fucking visible, girl.
Yes, we're here. We're not going anywhere.
We're here, see us.
What makes you feel the most visible?
Being here with my community and here with you.
Sis, what makes you feel the most visible?
What makes me feel the most visible is the existence of my community. Knowing that my sisters are here with me and loving on me together.
And now I'm going to vote. These are all the amazing volunteers for voting. Everyone go vote. Okay, I voted. You should too. You get a sticker. There is something so magical about being surrounded by a group of people who are authentically themselves, like 100%. And I just feel lucky to be included in spaces like today. And it made me realize, like, I need my trans family. I need to be a part of this community. And you know when you're on a plane and the flight attendant goes, like, put your oxygen mask on before helping other people put on theirs? I feel like I've spent these past few months putting on my oxygen mask to survive, and now I can be in a place to help my other trans siblings, because what I realized today at that march was that no progress can come from being selfish. And sure, I can afford my surgeries next month, but what about the people who can't? What about the trans people who don't get to go talk to the president, or that don't get brand deals? So if you are in a position of power to uplift someone trans, especially a trans person of color, do it and use that power. And I have some brand deals coming up for the holidays, and I'm going to use some of those funds to help others get their surgeries. So if you have a GoFundMe or you need help, please send me an Instagram DM. And to everyone else, go check out other trans creators to follow, because this is not the reality of our community. It's a lot bigger than me. And I'm just proud to be 1/1,000,000th of it. And I love ya, especially my trans fam. I love you most. Okay, bye.
Ally tips for pride. Speak about what you know. You are a brave ally. It's understandable that you'd be concerned about saying the wrong thing. We have a lot of labels, categories, slang, right, that we use amongst ourselves. You don't have to know it all. Speak about what you know. If you're going to talk to a school board, a legislator, a bully, someone who's targeting trans people, speak about human dignity. Speak about kindness. Speak about respect. Speak about the things you are an expert in because of your biography. And don't be afraid to speak up.
In general, I experience men negatively.
This may be hard for you to hear, but this says more about you than it does about men. You've had a negative experience with the majority of men you've had an experience with, not the majority of men. So upon hearing this, I'd have to assume it's maybe one of a few things. Number one, maybe you're a great person, but a poor judge of character. Number two, maybe you're a bad person, and the actions that you've experienced from men are more of a reaction. Number three, maybe it's a combination of both. Either way, part of the blame has to fall on you.
There's not an easy way to slide into this, so I'm just gonna say it. B word, C word, W word are slurs. They are misogynistic slurs. And I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while, but every time I see a feminist try to talk about this, fucking laughing stock. Like, no one wants to hear it, no one's taking you seriously, and there's reason for that. And since on fucking TikTok you have to spell shit out for people, a slur is a derogatory, insulting term to an oppressed group of people. Because these words only harm and affect women, I don't think they'll ever be perceived as slurs or socially, culturally considered slurs, the same way a man killing a woman because she's a woman is not considered a hate crime. Misogyny is not considered a real, prevalent, pressing issue in our society. We live in a misogynistic, patriarchal world. So to come and try to suggest that words that are used in pop culture, casual conversation, everything so overused, so normalized that is misogynistic, you're just gonna get fucking laughed at. It's really frustrating how many people don't consider them slurs. Not just don't consider them slurs, but will actively make fun of you for trying to have this conversation. Just imagine how many women have lost their lives at the hand of a man, the oppressor, and one of those words was the last thing they ever heard.
Let's talk about toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity actually comes from the fact that manhood is normally defined or associated with copulation, conquest, and dominance. That is because through many years in our social environment, it became normal for misconceptions such as, men can't cry, or, they can't share their feelings, they can't have friends who are girls without them being, involved with each other, to become normalized. These ideals, attitudes, and beliefs imposed in men actually hinder and refrain them from feeling and experiencing deep emotional connections with one another. To add on to that list, there is an ignorance in the sentence usage of boys will be boys, because sometimes that sentence is actually used to defend bad habits or bad interactions from boys. And I really think we should change our mindset on this. Now you know.
Toxic masculinity doesn't mean that men are toxic or even that masculinity is toxic. Toxic masculinity refers to the harmful parts of what boys and men are often socialized to be. It can take a number of forms, like homophobia, misogyny, greed, unnecessary violence, and poor emotional skills. I've personally been socialized this way. Even as young as 2nd grade, things like gay and girl were insults that boys would call each other. I was often told to man up for crying, and a lot of boys have a very similar experience. As a result of this, in a lot of all-male friend groups, you can say misogynistic or homophobic jokes and it'll just be business as usual. I feel like this needs repeating. Not every man has toxic masculinity, and not every form of masculinity is toxic, but some forms of masculinity are toxic, and we should call them out and change them.
Easter fit check! So thank God I didn't have to go to church today. My parents have released their Catholicism. But it would have been so cool to show up looking this gay. And being the center of attention, but alas, we are going to brunch. I went with something more mask today. Men's 60s knit button up. Sorry if you can hear my grandma, she's loud as hell. Watch, I'm mixing gold and silver. What are rules? Got my suit pants on, even though it's so hot. It's 78. I can't take it. Baggu socks. Yes, they make socks. And then my like teal turquoise Vans. I look really bad in pastels. There's like a little bit of blue here. That's my look. I might throw up my hair half up, half down. This outfit is missing something, but honestly, it's too hot for layers, so goodbye.
One of the most annoying questions in all of existence is, what if the roles were reversed?
Makes me so angry because the reverse racism stands, or the reverse oppression stands, always use this as an argument, but the roles have been reversed and they have been reversed. The only issue now is if people that are saying this, we live in a society where there are consequences for your actions. So most likely, unlike before, no one is like, it's not the 60s, no one is gonna watch you like essay someone or do something problematic or bigoted to someone without consequences. Now everybody has phones and they can now record you, and now you have consequences for the things you say and the things you do to people. So the roles have been reversed, and they are still reversed, and they will be reversed till someone decides to do something about oppression. But to act like it isn't is so dumb, because the roles are reversed. I don't care what it is. I don't care what situation you're discussing. It's funny to me how y'all will use that argument and then we'll do it behind closed doors. You're just scared. You can't do it on the internet. Boo-hoo.
If you are attracted to fat people, or the person you're intimate with is a fat person and you're too embarrassed to be seen with them in public or around your friends and family, you are a coward. Wah, wah, wah.
So the new RuPaul Build-A-Bear Special Edition bear doll thing, whatever you want to call it, is really triggering some people. Well, that's what the Daily Mail says. Remember, there's absolutely no agenda to groom your kids. Toy store Build-A-Bear divides customers with new RuPaul drag queen bear. So people seem to think that Build-A-Bear have created a RuPaul bear for children specifically, as if they're going to be able to get RuPaul stuffed in their Build-A-Bear workshops. But just for the record, when you go to buy the RuPaul doll bear thing on their website, it takes you to the Bear Cave, which is filled with unexpected collabs, unique plush gifts intended for shoppers 18 and older. So it's literally for adults. But with all the other things going on in the world, nothing is more dangerous than a teddy bear that is dressed up in a gold dress, little heels and a blonde wig. Hide your children, lock them away, because this is seriously dangerous.
Last year, I went on an adventure to find out who I was. There was a huge piece of my life missing, and up until that moment I realised it, I had no clue who I was. You see, all the emotional trauma of my childhood kept me from expressing my true self. That was until my child told me who she was. She said, "Not a boy, Dad, I'm a girl." Sometimes we hide ourselves away, even from ourselves, and then while we are buried safely beneath, we never check to see if it's safe outside. Eduardo showed me that it was safe, and that I should come out. So I spent a year revisiting my childhood, using that very emotional trauma that was hiding me as a way in, a connection that allowed me to almost transport myself back in time. I am partly male and partly female, but also I'm neither male nor female. I don't want to wear girls' clothes and I don't want to wear boys' clothes, so I dress androgynous. So if you have also been hiding like I was, I just want to let you know, it's safe.
Nope. Now, if you were a person of color, this would be someone else's job. But judging by your illustrated profile picture, you are a fellow male monster who is in desperate need of a lesson on intersectionality. Firstly, no, you can't be racist against white people, but that's not what that other person was saying. We both know that. Intersectionality, as it applies to marginalized identities, is a complex school of thought. But what it is not is a layering or stacking of identities. The term misogynoir is a very good example. A lot of people, particularly white people, mischaracterize the word misogynoir by defining it as simply the combination of experiencing misogyny and racism at the same time. But that's not what it is. Misogynoir is the unique thing that comes about from the intersection of racism and misogyny. It's what you experience in addition to racism and misogyny because of what happens when those two things intersect. It's the unique result of the intersection. That is also what you are failing to understand about lesbophobia and biphobia. Lesbophobia is not just the experience of being a woman and being gay at the same time. Biphobia is not just the experience of being straight and gay at the same time. Lesbophobia is what you experience in addition to misogyny and homophobia when you're a lesbian. Biphobia is what you experience in addition to homophobia when you are both straight and gay. So I'm gonna need you to think for like 30 seconds about the myths surrounding bisexual people, particularly the ones around promiscuity, infidelity, and untrustworthiness, and the myths surrounding both black men and women. And I'm separating those there because there are promiscuity myths about both groups, but they are a little bit different. Do you honestly think that when those two things intersect, it's not going to create a unique fucking monster? So when you call the word biphobia white made-up nonsense for white women to make themselves victims, you're not just forgetting that black bisexual people exist. You are perpetuating the most insidious, dangerous, violent love child of this phenomenon. Now, as far as I'm aware, there isn't a term or label for this specific love child yet. If I'm wrong and some of y'all happen to know what it is, feel free to tell me. But that doesn't mean it's not real, and it doesn't mean it's just homophobia and racism. It's dangerous bullshit, and I'm not gonna let you as a fellow white person weaponize woke racial language to erase and subsequently perpetuate violence against some of the most victimized and vulnerable groups in our society.
So you support misandry? You think it's okay to hate men just for being men? I don't think you understand why misandry exists in today's society. Like, you know, the only reason why misandry exists is because misogyny exists, right? Any person of a marginalized or oppressed group is absolutely allowed to hate their oppressors. And it is not the same as the other way around. The same way that when a black person or any other person of color says, I hate white people, I don't take it offensively, because I understand that they're more often than not talking about me individually. They're talking about white people as a whole. They're talking about whiteness, white supremacy, which more often than not, a lot of white people engage and continue to uphold. And there is a big difference between a black person or any other person of color coming up to someone and going, I hate you because you're white, which, by the way, I've literally never seen happen before, versus a black person or any other person of color going, I hate white people. I get it. I'm part of the parchment paper platoon. I hate white people too. Well, yeah, that's reverse racism. You're racist against your own race. Why did I waste my breath?
I said this once, and apparently I have to say it again, but your relationship to sexual violence does not define your gender. And I sit here in front of you as a multiple-time sexual assault survivor. I would say that sexual assault, sexual harassment, sexual violence has been one of the main factors in my understanding who I am. It's why I talk about it so openly on this platform, and why I have been writing and chronicling my healing from sexual violence publicly on Instagram for years. I learned a lot about my gender and community with other survivors, the majority of whom were women, but I'll be damned if we define womanhood or any gender by our relationship to how much assault we experience. And to be clear, you can be a privileged member of society and also experience sexual violence. I am a white person, which affords me the utmost privilege in society, and I need more than one hand to count the amount of times I've experienced sexual violence. And when you use this to define gender, you only end up hurting survivors of sexual violence.
I think every teacher has that one or two moments that were just terrible moments in their teaching career. And I'm going to share with you one of mine. I've worked in urban areas my entire life. So when our kids started getting jumped by kids from another school, we got put on different posts on the corners on the street. The one day I'm up by the bus stop by myself. Two of my kids are walking over there. And suddenly from around the corner, I see like 8 kids not from our school just... So I put down my drink, I cross the street, I get between them both. I'm like, whoa, like, y'all don't want to do this. All I see is like locks in hand things. They go right past me, and just start beating the living out of my 2 kids. Mind you, we're not by the school building. Like, we're in an urban area, we're in a city. So like the bus stop is like around the corner. There's no other teachers there. And all I can do is like pull a kid off. But then as I pull one off, there's still 7 more. So I pull another kid off. Obviously it's not working. Finally, a couple like big guys from off the street come over and they're like, yo, gotta go, like go. My 2 kids, it was a brother and sister, chasing these kids down the street. Luckily, when he got back towards the school, when he was chasing them, like one of our other teachers grabbed him and brought him inside. They had like concussions, blood in the mouth. Police get called. I have to sit down with them. I have to like go through all the questioning, like what happened, everything. After all this happens, I go to my friend's classroom and I just, tears just pour. But this isn't even the worst part. Their parents pull them out of school, send them somewhere else. About a year down the line, I get a text. It's an article. Kid got arrested. That boy got arrested. He's in jail. In my mind, if this event did not happen, this kid would have never been pulled from our school, would not be in jail, and it just like sits with you. Like you do not forget it. And I'm just like, man, like one event can just like change your life so drastically. And it really put things in like this crazy perspective for me. But y'all, guess who added me on Facebook like a week or two ago? He did. He is out of jail. He is working. He's got a kid that he is always posing up and taking care of. And like in that moment that he added me, that like weight from that experience, just like, so if y'all think teachers have it hard or y'all don't understand us, we go through some things that like y'all will never ever understand, and we carry that weight of our kids.
Really, no Latino likes the word Latinx?
Hola, Latina here. I want to talk about your video. First of all, we do use the word Latinx. We just say it in Spanish, Latina. Assuming you speak Spanish, I'm sure you're more than capable of saying that word, Latina. You also said this.
Latinx was a word invented by white liberals to try and colonize the Spanish language.
I want you to repeat that sentence to yourself, but do it slowly this time. Colonize the Spanish language. Pop quiz. Before they were brutally murdered by Spanish colonizers, what language did indigenous people in the Americas speak? Was it A, Spanish, or B, not Spanish? Take a second to think to yourself. If you answered B, then correct. You have a basic fundamental understanding of colonialism. Spanish is the language of the colonizer. Assuming you and I have indigenous blood, a portion of our ancestors did not speak Spanish. They were colonized and forced to do so by their colonizers. By white colonizers. Which brings me to my next point. You also said this.
Spanish in general is a gendered language. It's part of our culture.
You're only half right here. Spanish is in fact a gendered language, but it's not part of our culture. This is a facet of what we call machismo, or in English, the patriarchy. Let's run through a brief history lesson. In order for colonialism to work, you need to exploit indigenous populations for their labor, for cheap or free labor, in order to sustain the new economic system that the colonizers build. The Spaniards knew this better than anyone. So they convinced the working class, more specifically men, that they had to work hard and get their daily bread without complaining. They had to be men. They had to be strong Latinos. Then they convinced the woman that they had to stay home, that they could only contribute to society through domestic labor. The colonizers pushed the concept of machismo and perpetuated these gendered norms to convince men that in order to be men, they had to work hard and never complain about it, that they should be grateful to be campesinos. But now, people in Latin America are actively working to destabilize these gender norms, to actively decolonize our language. It's not a bunch of white liberals. These are queer and trans Latinas that are tired of being left out of the conversation every single time. They're tired of the colonizers' patriarchy. And they're sick and tired of people like you that continue to uphold the colonizers' way of life. So while you're still stuck in the past, kissing up to the colonizer, I and many other Latinas are going to work hard to deconstruct and destabilize these colonial mindsets, to free ourselves from the colonizer.
Hello, beautiful humans. Got a teacher hot take for you. I don't remember where I first heard or read about this, but the idea that our modern school system was designed to produce workers for the industrial system. So a lot of the things we put emphasis on were things that we would want to see in workers. So I started trying to watch out for these things in the school system that I work in. And today I saw one. The perfect attendance awards. So, yes, we want kids in school. However, perfect attendance puts so much emphasis on being here no matter what, that this is way more important than anything else. And that's some capitalism BS. You see, I was a student with a chronic health condition, and it was way more important for me to actually be healthy than to be in school every single day. And there are many other good and valid reasons for missing school. Or sometimes it's the parent preventing the kid from getting here, and that's not the kid's fault. So there you have it.
If a boy is gay, that means that he likes boys and not girls. If a girl is a lesbian, that means that she likes girls and not boys. If a person is bisexual, that means that they like boys and girls. If a person is transgender, that means that they were told that they were a boy or a girl when they were born, when that was incorrect. If a person is non-binary, that means that person is not a boy or a girl, and words like those are not the best way to describe them. I just explained 5 LGBT words in a simple way for kids to understand that is not sexually suggestive. And because of that, I will say this. You are never too young to be a part of the LGBT community or learn about it.
Definitely for looking out for our children, as they do not need to be exposed to any.
A child is so much more likely to be groomed and sexually assaulted in church than they ever would at a family-friendly drag event. This is a stone-cold fact. Also, the men who claim that drag can never be family-friendly are the same men who will bring their 8-year-old sons to Hooters to gawk at the waitresses and take photos like staring at their actual boobs. What the fuck? We also have to talk about how in your video you said, "I've never been to a drag show, but I've seen a few little snippets online." You fucking dumbass! Allow me to break it down for you in a way that even your smooth brain might be able to comprehend. Not all drag is family friendly, but drag can be family friendly, just like any form of media. There are movies that are appropriate for children, and there are movies that are not. You just have to pick and choose what you expose them to. You're using children as a prop, as a shield, to push your homophobia and transphobia. You don't care about their safety.
What would it mean if someone was straight and non-binary? What's the opposite gender?
Genders don't really have opposites, but I've always been of the opinion that heterosexuality is an attraction to a singular gender that is not your own. So I guess that would be up to the ND. Also, why be straight when you can be gay?
I'm going to show you 2 pictures, and I want to see if you can tell me the difference. The first picture is of Riley June Williams, who stormed the Capitol violently and stole Pelosi's laptop and then tried to sell it on the black market. She got 3 years in prison. And the second photo is of Crystal Mason, a black woman who filed a provisional ballot on the advice of a poll worker. Her ballot was never counted. At no point did she have any intent to commit fraud, and she got 5 years prison. So a white woman who committed violent insurrection and tried to overthrow our democracy and kill the Speaker of the House gets 3 years prison. But a black woman who files a provisional ballot on the advice of a poll worker gets 5 years prison. This is a reminder of 2 things. A system cannot fail those it was never meant to protect, and the system as it is right now isn't broken, it's working as intended. This is why I say we must activate and organize and change the system and build one on true justice for all.
Alright, so I was up scrolling at like 6 a.m. I'm like still half asleep, but this tweet really hit me and I was like, I'm gonna make a video about this. Also, I love this creator, they're hilarious on TikTok and Twitter. But this tweet really resonates to me both as a internet creator and also a black woman in the world because it exists in both spaces and I've often felt it as a person who creates on TikTok compared to other people who are making the exact same content as me. There have been so many times where I have made videos making valid points that I have researched and there's research to back up, but the vitriol I get is nowhere near what other people who do not look like me are getting. And I'm fully aware that that is because I am a black woman and I present as such on camera and in real life. So here's to continuing to challenge social norms. Because I don't care and I'm going to keep saying it. Have a great day.